Hello, welcome to one of the last analysis videos, you know, 4 out of 5 books I did this far. um, yeah, sorry. So yeah, let's get on with the analysis. So yeah, I think this is another poster I don't think I would rank this poster high, especially as the way the characters connect, and it's a tad off. You know, sometimes there's a poster technique where you're piling characters from different angles, but yeah, this doesn't quite work, because I think the whole body should be there. But regardless, you can see that, you know, considering what book 3 ended as, this is almost like what the Legion's going to be like for the majority of the story. You know, definitely makes this one different. The flooding into the climax, it's submerging buildings, and here's Earth as well, you know, thanks to the greenery trees we've seen previously. And this is Pod, and that is Megajaw. Probably could be clearer, but yeah, it was tricky with how they are to be placed, but it's still a nice touch. I think that's what makes me almost like this, almost rank it high, but yeah, I think my favourite poster has to be probably the last one. You'll probably see why. Um, and yeah, I think that's all I have to say. Let's get on with the video. Alright, so an introduction to Mechajaw, and unlike book 2 and 3, where the villains seem to be almost invented, with this one, with Mechajaw, however, he's definitely been around from the get go, so yeah, today definitely more exciting for what's to be next. Here's a Jaw Sharp, you last saw one of those in, in Zionthor's last scene in book 1. Try to infiltrate the Dark Fortress only to get knocked away, and even here their planet is getting attacked. It's a mushroom planet almost, with waterfalls and these lizards which do have 4 eyes overall, and yeah, the mushrooms I think could have been looking better, but anyway, here are the morphos as well, and as you can see, the colours of these morphos are varied. So you have Pod, who's a normal blue, these are grey, Mechajaw himself is blue, and then Pod's own morphos are black. And yeah, it definitely helps differentiate which one's which. If you wonder why morphos later on are black, it's because, minor spoiler, at the end of book 1, where everyone reaches like a final status quo at the end of the story, you would imagine when more morphos are coming along, I think they would probably be updated slightly. You know, I think I could see that happening with Pod and the Titrans working together, but that's almost pay canon again. Yeah, not really shown in the story. You know, just another thing that in the novel or expanded material. But yeah, so Mechajaw has a chest piece and has a weapon as well. And for those who have a sharp eye, I do have an idea that his weapon, it's more like a blunt weapon. It varies, but not in the way the book shows, unfortunately. But yeah, his weapon is summoned in either hand, because yeah, it can be a bit stiff for a character to have one hand that's completely useless and another one that isn't. So it does give Mechajaw a bit of freedom, even if you know, even if one hand does become, you know, a weapon when it comes to battle. So yeah, I guess it adds mystery for what's happening there. And also, as said above, Mechajaw is into the idea that it's getting rid of any smart race and only wants universal wildlife, which is quite an interesting idea, because, you know, what if it was just wildlife, you know, was the dinosaurs, you know, having the Earth to themselves, is that, you know, better for the Earth? Was the conflict better? Like, it definitely would be less complicated because of no crime or politics around, you know, definitely not during the dinosaur era. So as much as this theme could have been expanded upon, you could probably see why Mechajaw would do this, and also there's a bit of a backstory which will help as well. So yeah, but as a starting point, yeah, I think that's definitely quite interesting. And yeah, I can see some of the fighting there. But yeah, I guess, well, I guess before we go, all the water's the same, to which, yeah, I think it would have been nice for water to, oh, actually, no, if Viper is its own colour, then yeah, I can see that happening, unless it's lava or a lake of goo, who knows. So I think having all of the water to be blue is fine, or the sky being the same colour in every planet, yeah, that's definitely going to look better. Not to mention Jaw Sharp, like the Titarans, where it was a singular character and then duplicated as, you know, of the same race. That does happen to him. He was to be, you know, in that little alien team with Cell and a green alien, which you'll see later on, you know, just a side team alongside the Legion. He too wasn't a very considerable member. I did like him a lot. Because his sword has, it's almost like a mix between brass knuckles and swords, which is also explained in the character guide. And yeah, and a sharp light aesthetic to the design as well, which I kind of like. But anyway, yeah, let's move on to the next page. So yeah, as you can imagine, not many planets have names I remember, unfortunately. But anyway, this is that's also expanded in the guide I've made. This is a planet which is mainly full of ships, very little vegetation. but you can see the vehicles, they all vary, and yeah, so yeah, it's, so since we last saw Pod, he left Earth, and it's even said Apasnos is not even with him at this point, meaning both Hailwolf and Apasnos are the only characters, aside from a couple who, go in and out of this overall story. And yeah, so Pod has ended up on a world where, I guess, minor headcanon, Apasnos did drop off Pod here, and so Pod could find another ship himself to go and sort out the Morphos himself. But like I said, yeah, that could have been written, and this is the ship that Pod will use later, so caravan ship, and this is who he will be selling the ship, or probably persuaded, because of perhaps his own anger and desperation, maybe mind influence from Apasnos to it's not indicated when the payments happened or not. It probably might have, but yeah, then that's something to be expanded upon. And also, as said later, the Pod is almost embodying the element of Vibra as well within himself, and not just as sourcing from the Trident. So yeah, an interesting detail which will pay off later. So yeah, as you can imagine, this is inspired by how caravans are looked. I kind of like the design of them, and that's almost like a average plane you would see from time to time. Yeah, and a watchtower there, which I think is a nice detail considering what the planet is like, full of spaceships. But yeah, let's get going. Okay, so and then we go to the Legion, with no Pod and Arvin. That definitely makes it sour between these two. And it's Zami's own electricity which is charging these cubes, which is pretty interesting. So yeah, I definitely had this idea of them two fighting, which probably would have been cut short, no thanks to Mike here. And there was to be one deleted scene where Mike goes to see Retron and finds out that Mike's been demoted, to which I'm not sure if that's said or not. But you probably would see why Mike would be more on the Legion side, considering the Legion is properly sunk down, and yeah, he just wants to support it, just like keep the Legion going. And yeah, and as mentioned, it's Zami getting overconfident. That's definitely a trait that's been around from the get-go, and so this is going to be his lesson today, in this story, sorry. And yeah, so this the main themes in the story, it's almost knowing how to use power and when to use it. So while it's all of these themes do get hinted throughout the story, but it does have a main theme, and that's what the main theme is. What is the right way to use power, and as to help. Zami's overconfident with his abilities. You probably can see that there. And then Nicole is also, if anything, she's learning that she can be powerful on her own without the need of Mike all the time. And yeah, I think that's to be expanded material as well. It's not really shown in these books, unfortunately, but considering how close these two are, Nicole is not nervous to maybe away from Mike, especially in a rough manner like this. Much worse compared to the previous 3 books. It's almost just, you could argue that it's part of an independence theme. But yeah, like Nicole previously was learning that. Sorry, my phone just buzzed. But yeah, Nicole just learning that, via independence, that's where power is better than increase her numbers. And in here, it's just realizing that she does have enough of her own power, to which she could have doubted in book 1 when her and Dan were having a conversation with one another, as they first meet. So yeah, let's get on with the story. Okay, and so this is where Retron does get more of the limelight throughout this particular book that he's introducing. So if you remember in book 3, at the end of book 3, he has ideas for defences, and so this is them here, graphically drawn, if that's an existing term. So turrets all around the area, and drones which are far more flexible. And yeah, the attire. Clearly, most of the crowd is watching it, even the presence there. And even the setting was to be used loads of times, especially when Retro and Mike used to help plan the base on how to counter the Nitrobots, but the setting's been kept, but obviously not the scene itself, because, that's just a simple line needed, and the Legion were the focus when it comes to planning what to do next as the Nitrobots came about. So this is the stage, and yeah, this is, despite his face, he's definitely at his most happy here. As you can imagine, he's having his ideas be more on the forefront, which is always wanted, thanks to prior hints of the book as well. Yeah, I think Garcia is probably too big. I think the size of the head's going to be more consistent anyway, listener creatures. Sorry, how many yawns is that? Like 5? I don't know. But yeah, that's the presentation. That's going to go further, as we'll see later. But anyway, let's move on. So yeah, a deleted scene that wasn't really needed, as you can imagine. So it's seeing them free plan, to get hold of Dion out to the base. But yeah, this is something that does it say the planning? I'm not sure, but definitely a decent plan of action. If these defences are to be prioritised above the Legion, the Legion seem to be sunken within the Earth. And I'm not sure this is said, but it's almost kind of hinted with Dion here. So Dion's been shut down on Earth to stop the increase of the conflicts out of space, which would endanger Earth as well. And that's why you probably can see that the Legion have been kept down there as well. Like if they're being downgraded, then you can see why the ban to go to space is done. But even then, I think that could have been done with a line. And so this is throwing it to height, and also this is meant to be a speech bubble to help you see through the building. Yeah, that could have been done better. I could have done with research more on how to visualize something like that. But yeah, it's almost like a GTA hash, someone on the watch, someone actually doing the process, and then someone who's the driver. Just someone to get going once he wants to have done. If you remember, yeah, sorry, that's why I had to kind of, which I was mentioned prior, that Dion can change his body weight, so that's why he can be transported later, because there is the popular not theory, but more the fact that the stronger you are, the heavier you are, because there must be a way to deter force in some way, and Dion has a minor route through there, and yeah, they all play their part almost, which is nice. Yeah, Mike is first time I've seen him in that position, but considering his position, he probably would drive. Nicole uses his stealth and her awareness, and Izami is good with his technology, which almost is foreshadowing for later, which you'll get onto later. um, yeah, so I think like most of the settings, probably going to done with more detail. But other than that, yeah, let's move on. Yeah, so yeah, I think this book and the following book just has more this emphasis of a plot and a B plot, which does all merge together. Which is definitely a good thing regarding storytelling. But interesting enough, as probably mentioned previously, these books have been scripts before, and as it was to be 6 episodes within 5 seasons, one of the episodes was just to focus on Pod and this time with Morphils until he meets with the rest of the Legion later on, because it was to be back and forth. But yeah, it's just structure in the episode. It's a bit tricky. So yeah, so if the series was to be made, I still think that's a wise decision. But in this format, the plots can go back and forth. So these are floating bubbles. This is London and Morphils. Yeah, once again, probably could have done with being more exciting outside of a couple of bits and bobs. And you can tell Pod has arrived there. The book mentions the Vibra is more of a part within Pod's body. Sorry. And this is Clam, who's a Morphil who is only featured once more on a later page. He definitely was to be more of a forefront character, like definitely a representation of a Morphil that's more on Pod's side compared to Mechajaw, just showing that Morphils aren't as black as white as Pod would have thought. But yeah, the scratchings on his head definitely helps with later on in the story, because as shown here, because of Torrid's influence, and to take that step further, what he learnt in book 2 with redefining an entire race, and Pod had this idea of, if I become like the only Morphil, everyone else is the last of their kind, so I shall be. And he could probably, I think he would make an attempt here, and probably all taken down by many Morphils and Mechajaw. I can see that happening next, saying that is off-screen stuff, which I think I did plan bits and bobs like that when it comes to like the events overall. But yeah, that's just the thing with this book. You have to infer events in between sometimes when it could jump in from one scene to another. But even then, this book isn't perfect with that, as you probably would have seen in these videos so far. But yeah, let's get moving. Alright, so a brand new Earth location, one that's full of pebbles and rocks, and their own streams of water as well, pretty nice. And so yeah, Dion has been, he's returning from his shutdown mode, and yeah, I think the book said that Star helped him to do that, because, if you're wondering, so yeah, Dion shutdown means he's unable to wake his cell back up. It would have to be done by someone else, and them three had a pretty good chance to do so. And as probably said here, and sadly, this doesn't have a page of its own. So after Dion wakes up, Retron finds out about this, and this does lead to a battle, and then all of them get moving on the run, and they eventually leave Earth, thanks to Zami creating yet another awesome tone. So he probably has 2 by now, which, yeah, very well. And yeah, these are targets in his eyes, to make him more scary. Sammy's been spooked by that, and now he's probably sees Sammy as a threat. And not to mention, this is done a couple of times. Probably should have been done all the time. Yeah, lightning sparks when it hits Leon, and yeah, something like that would deter him, but not fully, stop him from whatever damage he's doing. And then Nicole is trying to stop Sammy here, and he's trying to surrender as well, Mike here, which is, a nice detail. So yeah, Wonder's definitely has some kind of role, because like in prior versions of the book, sometimes the characters just stay in there, but in pages like this, for all the characters to have a role, yeah, it's a pretty nice detail, I would say. So like I said, yeah, the following page could have been nice to do, and I think without knowing that, it looks like the Legion just work up Dion, knowing that's a risky move, and so the servicemen go after them, which is definitely shown later on as they're on the run, and then they leave Earth, from the trouble they're in. So yeah, I think without the battle involving Retron and Dion coming back to his normal self after the battle, yeah, I think this still flows okay. So the hilarious error of not having black outlines for these guys here, yeah, I should have made time to do that. Yeah, it's a bit unfortunate, but as you can tell, these are all duplicated, and yeah, pretty fun arena idea, to have the crowd go through the water, and yeah, and yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of fighting arenas that just flat, but unfortunately I had to do so here, it's for extra character and stuff. But yeah, at first, so to save for Mechador to save himself, he's tried to get the Morphils to have a go fighting him, but eventually, as said here, some of the Morphils are like, oh, Poddy probably could be a better dude, and there's also a nice payoff where, because all of these Morphils would have been taught the same, but because Pod has a couple of other tricks up his sleeve thanks to the Legion, that's where, that's why he's able to fight off these Morphils, some of them which are much older than others, and yeah, even the Trident here goes to show that, well, not only foreshadowing, but, being able to have power in his own body, yeah, that's definitely some hint in there. And what else was I going to say? Oh god, what was I going to say? The crowd, the Morphils, Pod, the Trident. Yeah, don't do the videos unscripted. Oh yeah, I do remember now. So Pod story arc here. So yeah, sorry, I keep repeating certain phrases. Yeah, so Pod, with this theme of how to use power correctly, he's taking advantage by thinking all the Morphils should go, but now he's reached almost a midpoint in his arc where he's like, oh, maybe these Morphils, shouldn't be, they can't all be killed, but they should definitely be sorted in some way. And yeah, because I think it was unknown what Pod was going to do, considering what the culture of Morphils are like. But then, had this idea of getting rid of them all, only for that not to be the case, and having these dudes being interested in him, that's, that would definitely, reconsider everything. And yeah, so that's, almost what he learns almost. Yeah, just once again using power correctly. And so yeah, let's move on. Fun fact, so in book 5 there were more locations that were visited, but it did all have to get cut down. But this setting was eventually reused. Yeah, this jungle environment in another place on Earth that he didn't have stayed there overnight. Could have done with like a tent and a slept under leaves, and he probably could find decent food around. So yeah, so after that happening, yeah, so the Legion are fighting the servicemen, which yeah, an interesting way to present the theme of power. They have to use the Force to do the greater good, and what they're doing now is that if Earth is going to continue to put them down, they need to do some kind of good out in space. And yeah, they probably had the idea to sort out Zime Thought, if not Mechador. They're the only threats around at the moment, and I'm not sure. Hopefully, this is said. Yeah, Dion has no flight, so it will definitely be with the Legion for a far much longer run. And you could say it's convenient after being shut down for ages, but considering Zemi sapping Dion earlier, yeah, I think that's probably shut it down. But why not a star though? Yeah, I don't really make it so a star is helps with the energy parts. It's mainly like physical repairs and stuff. But even then, yeah, I should have mentioned that. So yeah, nice variety of abilities here. Yeah, Dion is throwing someone, by the way. You can see with some lines, but yeah, I think he should have been in the frame. Yeah, I do like that kick there as well. But yeah, pretty funny move. Yeah, she's launched herself from that a bit of tree as well. So yeah, as also mentioned, yeah, Zami's about to go to the tone, and yeah, they're about to leave Earth. So yeah, you can tell this is what the Legion is almost like at the moment, not just with their position on Earth, but what they are like member-wise, and even that is about to change later on. And so yeah, if you remember the Titrons from book 3, well, they are seen again. And so the Titron's primary purpose is as the main kind of beings with the life force. They are using it to resurrect other races, and they have used like a trait of an extinct race to help create more of them. And yeah, there's a variety, the sacred farm which you saw on Ozona's planet. In fact, it's not just extinct races; it's some that need more more of a population increase. And yeah, he's a character you'll see later. And yeah, this is a character I've made up when I was younger, a bat, like a bigger one almost. And yeah, this circular dude behind Dion, but yeah, you saw him in book 2. So yeah, it's just a couple of Easter eggs, but other than that, no one else is completely new. Although I think these are Tengas actually, you'll see why they would need more of a population increase. But yeah, these are like temporary plant matter containers, probably full of water, growing these embryo beings. And this is also the only mention of Arvin. He probably was the last of his kind, and the Titrons have offered to clone him. Because, I'm not sure what this is said, hopefully it is. Sorry, I'm not very good at remembering what I've written. So yeah, the Titrons are like, we've provided you some aid and some food and shelter, and we can get going, but, we would prefer to stay here with the work and such. And because of what Nicole has learned, not to focus too much on the quantity of the team, they seem to be alright as the 4 of them. She does thanks to using that. And so, yeah, most of the Titrons are plain, but I don't know who's which. One of them's Carpo, one of them's Wanda, a leader and a deputy, you could say. And yeah, Zemi is looking at this, being all amazed, which hints later on. And even Dion, he's not sure what's in his eyes, probably signals. And hopefully this is said as well. Oh yeah, it is. Yeah, just having a look, he would have missed out a lot. And even though the threats are less, no thanks to Taurus attacked, many worlds are, almost falling apart. And yeah, so he's missed all of that, and he's unable to help at the minute. But at least he's with the Legion, that's what he can do. And this is indoor, by the way. And at the outside, it's meant to be more of a vegetation paradise, but I shall say that's not the case. And I really wish it was, with the time and stuff. Because, these beings are almost like they can't live in the jungle and stuff. But yeah, there's just flaws of these cloned beings as well. And yeah, let's move on. Yeah, so this is Wanda, the meaner one, the deputy. He's spotted Zamri trying to facilitate this whole process. And oh wow, yeah, that's yet another being as well. I forgot to know that, my guide, even other ones as well. Wow. Anyway, so and as you probably could see, I think the living gore was meant to be drawn here, but once again, time deterred that. But you could probably still tell that living gore is like properly sourcing within this rock. And yes, sorry. So as Zami is someone who likes to experiment and not always keeping a lid on when it comes to powers. Because of how small the Legion are, and it's probably all this time Zami's been a bit belittled. He's like, I'm just going to make this choice, which will probably make everything better, I'll make myself look better. But this, and whether it is interesting whether this would work or not, but it is 50-50. Vondel's not taking this chance. He's not pleased with Kyle for that. There's even a deleted scene later on where he almost like beats up Zami. And the Legion do definitely have to leave. And even in the following scene, they were even trapped within the ground to prevent them from helping the Titrons in a fight later. Yeah, I think I did remove that idea in the end. Yeah, why would you? Because the Legion are leaving anyway. But yeah, when I mentioned back in book 3 that there were cases of the Legion seeing someone, then annoying them, then they're about to leave, but then they end up staying to help. Yeah, unfortunately, that's been repeated. Yeah, I think this is the last time, because yeah, it's a bit of a trope of mine which I've accidentally duplicated. And yeah, you can tell Living Gore has its own entrance compared to where the cove is, probably a deeper area of some sort. Probably would have been more guarded. Yeah, because Sammy's managed to make it all that way. Oops, I've created myself another plot hole. Oh well, probably security's nerd to sneak past, who knows. I'll probably find another way. But even when Vondor goes to attack Zammy and the lead scene, that is back up in the ground, away from the work, which is definitely a wise choice. But yeah, let's go into the next scene. Right, so yeah, this is them battling, and like I said, this area is devoid of vegetation, which is a bit of a shame. And yeah, I say little Titrons there, which is quite nice, for guarding them. And yeah, have a hint of Nicole, finding more of her own strength. She does have enough power on his own, despite being absent from Mike, despite what the battle looks like. And then, as also said in the guide, and Pod never really demonstrates to have this ability, despite having the idea to. But just later on, Pod has the power of the elements, while these Morphils have more of a sonic power within their wrist, and so they're able to perform much greater punches. But in this case, the punches have the power to deflect any incoming projectiles, such as here. So yeah, pretty nice detail for that to be the case. But most of all, you see, the Titans and Morphils are fighting each other during the elemental wave, and that's comeback. And another interesting detail, not only is I do like this combat as well, just to show that, they both are in similar power levels. They have similar supernatural abilities, and their strength is similar, but, they have more strength and size, and these have more combat experience. So yeah, definitely a balanced set of beings. And yeah, Carpo is the client who likes his vegetation, and Bondor definitely likes to have his hands more dirty. And yeah, as you can probably see, the hands and arms probably could have done with being better. But I think the variation of their arms and stuff, he has finite arms compared to these two. I think things like that is alright because it just helps vary what the race looks like, when looking at each individual. But yeah, overall, so because the Titrons are now more involved in the conflict, because Pod took the location gadget with him, and I think there was also the lead scene of confronting the Green Apes to say, hey, the Morphle planet is hidden, isn't it? Where is it? And then he, becomes quite threatening then. So you can either interpret that as the case, or maybe Pod found the Morphle planet within the planet GPS. So either way could work and can be interpreted, but a line or whatever could have really helped with that. So yeah, that's led to the Titrons being targeted, and yeah, and considering the elemental wave, you can see why Mechador is more keen to take down a race like this. You could, and also Mechador's been much further, deeper parts of the universe as well. Which is why he's not been as evolved as other villains, closer to Earth. But now it looks like they are getting closer. The Titran planet wasn't actually, no, this was quite a distant planet, but if the Legion have managed to make it in under a day, or probably a couple of days, considering what Retron's own Earth looks like later on. But anyway, yeah, the Morphils are definitely more involved, and with that, the Titrons have joined the battle, only, well, the overall cause, and some of them would have joined. Because I'm not sure if this is said elsewhere, but they like to send only a certain number, to keep other ones protecting this Earth as well, which is also definitely a wise choice. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say. Yeah, let's get going. Yeah, sorry if I'm mumbling, by the way, and yeah, from video tests, yeah, you would have to turn the volume up at full. Yeah, so I do apologise for that. You never know, automatic subtitles may come up, but yeah, anyway. So this scene, so yeah, the turrets and the drones, they're up and around, and yeah, Zynford did say to Mechador, you may have all of these races you want to target, but I'm interested in Earth, that the security definitely needs to decrease. And you can imagine them clashing, considering later on, because Zynford only wants to diminish violence overall, but Mechador is like, what will diminish violence, or really bad violence, getting rid of the smart races. And so yeah, Zynford wouldn't be too into that, but you never know, Zynford could have leverage above Mechador at the point where the Morphils only have the task to diminish the security alone, almost like what Ozone used to do. Ozona in Book 2, sorry, I felt like I not said that clearly. Sorry, I've lost my train of thought once again. Yeah, so I think all of that could have been done with a scene or a line somewhere, to infer most of that headcanon. But yeah, this is a new town, so yeah, much more widespread, more of a town compared to the city we saw earlier. And this area we do see once more. Is that a building on top of another? Oh, I know, it's just connected in that way. And yeah, Retron is successful here, just get rid of these Morphils. Just go to show that, he's definitely gaining power, which is sizable compared to other planets, and you can see why other races probably would have wanted to attack Earth if it has technological advancements. And I think this was also said later on that Nitro was used to benefit these aspects, and there was even another deleted scene where Dion is like, me and Zemion, we weren't keen of stars being weaponized in this way, and so you shouldn't have done that behind our backs. And Retron would be like, oh yeah, well, tough. So an interesting conversation both of them could have had, but once again, page time, and I think it would be tricky when it would be done. There might be a couple of cases either in the final battle or when Dion gets his flight back earlier, but yeah, once again, it's just space. But yeah, this is what Retron wants to have, this whole force over, all around Earth. And there was yet another deleted scene, an idea I've had where, you have a flashback of Retron in his younger years. Sorry. And yeah, I can see why he's very formidable. you know, on his own, and how he likes the success and he likes to have his, you know, his vote profile building up over time. And so he would reminisce this as he's watching this as well. So yeah, just a nice detail. And as you can see, this town allows room for grass and vegetation as well, you know, which is pretty nice. Anyway, let's get going. Okay, so more about Mechador and more about Pod. So if you remember, Pod used to be part of Mechador's army before Pod's mind evolved at a point where he was like, yeah, I don't want to fight here anymore. And so yeah, he goes to leave Mechador, which would have made Mechador head off, considering Pod would have been more of a enhanced Morphle to some extent. Yeah, probably not so much with the Viper powers. I mean, despite what he's been made to do, you know, that's what his creator did with Pod, you know, being able to absorb a single element, which is said in one of the pages somewhere. And yeah, that's a smaller Pod there, more of a better Morphle compared to an average one. This is Mechador here. So Mechador is motivated by how experimented he is and how smart races are by overcoming lesser smart races, because, you know, even these Morphles would have less intelligence. I know they're young, but they kind of have anyway, you know, regardless of Mechador's role and stuff. And even if the minds continue to evolve to be more, just more knowledgeable overall. And as you can see, this is the Orca, so yeah, more headcanon. But this one isn't. This is just more extra material, which I guess only adds little bits to the story if it was to be added. So he was one of the first aliens to visit Earth. He was inspired by orcas, and so he got some genetics to make his own army of peace, which probably would have counted the Nitrobots actually, but you know that's backfired because Zyme4, you know, he's allies with Mechador, and they're both yeah, join forces. And they probably would ally with one another. Well, not only has Zyme4 and Vata have more of a higher ground, considering they're even with some of the first races to exist in this galaxy, but even Mechador and Zyme4 can play on the motivations despite, you know, being on the same side. So yeah, definitely adds to the theme here. And I think that's, yeah, probably one of my favourite pages, and yeah, definitely adds to why this is my favourite book. So in this particular scene, so as well as his blunt weapon, which Mechador can summon with either hand, he also has this technology, which has also been I'm not sure if this is said. It comes from the creator as well. You know, trying to advance the mind almost. To which, yeah, I think that's why he's probably giving these Morphles a more alternative intelligence compared to like an average Orca. Yeah, that should have been a line that's in there as well. But yeah, Mechador has his own technology to warp a Morphle's mind. And I think it would have been done recently because you see what would happen to Morphles if they end up being what Mechador doesn't want them to be. So yeah, even then that should have been a line. But yeah, he's so yeah, not in the book, but in ideas and possibly in future material. But Pod was like one of those characters where once his mind broke, or you know, just changed slightly, he had like flashes of his past, like even in his Orca form as well. And both, you know, when he was under Mechador's rule, and so he had like flashes of it. But Mechador here is unleashed the entire lot. He's bringing back the times where he used to be, you know, Pod used to be a vicious creature, you know, for Mechador's doing and stuff. And yeah, oh yeah, when I mentioned the, you know, the idea of a side team alongside the Legion, this is Cosmic. He would have been one of the members of that, and it's spelled with, no, it starts with a K and ends with a K, so yeah, that's how Cosmic is spelled that way, which is, yeah, that's something. And yeah, it's meant to be, that's a thinking bubble, and that's a speech bubble, which I think both of them could have been done slightly better. But yeah, these are the cells as well, to which I think, yeah, I think that could have been a way Mechador deals with the Morphles he no longer likes or wants. He probably chucks him in there. And so just discovered another planet he can drop the Morphos off to, could have been recent, and then there's the mind technology. So yeah, once again, these are all lines, but saying that, it just goes to show that even with coming up with different methods, it's still the cruel outcome, you know, how he mistreats some. And so it's just like belittling some above others, which is, yeah, quite interesting part to his character. So yeah, I think that's all I have to say. I think it's the longest part of the page, like in any book, they'd written 8 minutes. Anyway, let's save ourselves and let's get going. So as said somewhere, because of all of those memories going back to Pod, this makes him struggle to fight Mechador here, you know, compared to much later, which you'll see late, you know, just overall later. And yeah, Pod's trying to use all of that combat skills from earlier, trying to use Vibra against Mechador, but Mechador is definitely a powerful being of his own. And I'm not sure if this is also said before, this was a deleted scene where he, like, Mechador runs on a special type of obsidian which emits heat, which keeps him going. It's his fuel, but you know that starts to run out, and so he needs an element to keep him going. So I think that is definitely mentioned in the book. put him onto an element, that's part of the reason why him and Xyphor would bump heads, because Mechadraw would want something to keep him going for the long run. And Mechadraw is probably more than 100 years old, and like a machine, he keeps going with fuel and not deterred by age, which is quite interesting. Yeah, so the trident holding, the way his fin is out, that could have been improved. But even then, I kind of like this position. It just goes to show Pod does have an upper hand of some sort, even if he loses in the end. And even him losing was the deleted scene, because even this trident breaks, which unleashes Vibra, which makes Mechadraw go like, oh, that's one of the elements Seinfeld would have been on about, let's take it for myself, which then leads to other interesting parts along the way. And so yeah, this is the same fight in Arena, and Mechadraw, I'm not sure if this is said or not, but yeah, if there was this idea that Mechadraw is like, oh, I need to beat this guy to keep my Morphils, I don't want any of them turning heads and thinking he's the better Morphil. No, that's definitely me, I'm the better leader. And I think there's other parts where Mechadraw has set his own rules, so if any Morphil wants to challenge him, he would allow it, but mainly because he is competent enough to beat any Morphil. Yeah, that's something that's not in the book, but the story can do without it for now, but I think it would be nice to do in the novel version of this story. Yeah, and for those who've been wondering about, there's a lot of instances where I'm saying, oh, it's not in this, but it'll be in the novel. It kind of reminds me of like some book adaptations where the adaptation has a lot less compared to the original source material, because the source material has the full picture. But this is almost like in reverse, where the novel is this, this is the source material, and the novel is going to expand on that, which is a pretty interesting twist, I would say. Anyway, yeah, let's, although I say before I get going, Mechadraw's weapon, it could vary between a blunt weapon, a clamp-like weapon, and even a summoning a sword. But yeah, the other two abilities you don't really see. But yeah, there's some water, which the Morphals are with, definitely nice detail, it shows that they're swimming. And also the trident, no, actually, no, never mind that. If you're wondering, that's Pod's tail, by the way. I did wonder about that miscolouring, but no, that is Pod's tail. Anyway, let's move on. Alright, so another side of Retron, so as well as being able to deter alien races and even be able to attack planets from afar, as you'll see later. But yeah, this is him solving crime as well, just goes to show that even the smallest issues he's willing to sort out as well. And yeah, we've got robbers here, which is quite interesting, and so yeah, they've been deterred by drones and stuff. And even somewhere in the book states, with this new defence, is there a need for servicemen, which is an interesting idea. But yeah, Dretron is definitely trying to make Earth protective at a point where there's no need for the Legion or servicemen. So it's like all about him, and it's even an idea that can continue while he's gone as well, because this would be really good, computer and stuff. Sorry, my computer's fan is on again. But yeah, I like the road details as well. This is a picture I've taken in a town somewhere, and so I just tried to replicate it the best I can. And yeah, it's vaguely paid off, I would say. And yeah, you can tell he's pleased with all of that. And yeah, and it also goes to show that just because he's disabled, it doesn't mean that he still has a lot of power behind him. And so yeah, oh yeah, and also yeah, there's an off-screen conversation between Mike and Zami where Retron has definitely been a bit intoxicated by the power, and so Mike doesn't want Zami to be like that, which definitely wakes Zami up a bit, and I think Zami has seen that a couple of times of Retron, because I don't think Retron and the leader would have seen each other much, but how they're not too keen on one another, that's definitely been a thing from the get-go. Yeah, let's move on. Alright, so thanks to the Titarans, which you don't really see here, but because you'll see the Titaran ship later on, that's basically their vehicle for now, something to carry everyone. And yeah, I guess Zami could have made another ship, and you never know, he could have helped make the Titaran ship, or maybe repair it, because if the Titarans were this galactic helpful force of some sort, then they would have means of transportation, and they somehow kept a ship. They might have had multiple, but these are big ships. So yeah, one ship can carry a lot. And yeah, Nicole's hand's a bit too big here, isn't it? Anyway, so this is the Morphil planet. They're all overlooking. They're going to try and find Pod or stop Mechadraw, which hopefully that's stated as well. But this is where the Retron managed to send an attack across planets, and he's found where the Legion is located. Well, that's a idea of mine, which I probably forgot to write down. It could be interpreted as Mechadraw. Maybe the base had copies of the planet DPS before Pod took it, which, yeah, once again, that's headcanon. Quite unlikely. But yeah, that's led to the Morphil planet being located and then fired at and yeah, you can just see many Morphils getting knocked out, which definitely increases a good amount of numbers. But and also, like, if Nectron was meaning to get to the Legion, then yeah, I could see him doing that. And yeah, that does remind me of a deleted scene later on where I wish I'd thought of it again and then kept it in, if you know what I mean. Because Mike was going to have like a distant call of Retron being like, hey, you know, what was this planet strike? Who could have got us? And Retron could have been like, yeah, that's the intention. We're not mates anymore. We have our own ideas how shall be protected. Which probably would have made later on better in the climax. But the book seems to be okay without it. But I just think it's definitely something. Not to mention, sorry, I just got to the next page. Sorry, but yeah, no, not to mention. But yeah, just go to show that the Legion haven't acknowledged this attack, and there's just something to talk about. But in this instance, it looks like it's happened and it's almost forgotten. Although there's definitely some long-lasting turn effects, such as most Morphos are down and Mechador is trying to run off, and because of no flight, the Honest less able to get him, to which is a bit of a stretch, I would say. But if Mechador's an extra bot as well, then Dion could have had a hard time. Not to mention, yes, lasers are blue. It was like a jade green another time, book 2. Just had it inconsistent, or maybe they're different type of lasers. Yeah, oh well. And I think this is also the point where, because of no need for any more heat-emitting obsidian, he now has the element within his grasp, and the Legion would have been told that Pod's not there. This is Clan. He's down, and he's emitted where Pod would be at. And you'll see later on he's where other Morphils have been taken to. Probably looking around for other survivors, and I'm not sure if this is said earlier, but yeah, most of the Morphils definitely went off the planet as it was being bombed. I think maybe a good majority have left anyway, and all the leaving was as the fighting out was being done. So yeah, it's either way. I really need to rethink that part. And yeah, Mechador has his own ship as well, and you see a whole bunch of these ships later on. A ship which is small but I kind of like, and yeah, and there's also the lead scene later on where he was going to come on and join and help the Legion, and then he gets harmed by events later on. But I think that definitely adds some kind of fact to the story, considering what is done instead. But it's a nice idea, could have made it more useful, but you would have enough characters running about. As you probably could tell, like book 2, 3, 4, and even 5, well, not 4, but those 3 books have their own Legion member like Hellwolf or Basnos, and then there's another dude called Fletcher in book 5. But yeah, sorry about that. I've just been called in for something. Yeah, I forgot what I was basically talking about. It might come back to me, or yeah, I guess we'll wait to see. But anyway, we'll get on to the next page. Yeah, so this is one of my favourite scenes of not only book 4, but just overall. I say first of all, before I forget, this was an individual drawing I've done before, which I then added on, considering how useful it will be for a setting like this. It's both natural and full of dead things. Definitely, definitely matches the environment of these creatures being as carnivorous as they are. Sorry. But also, like with book 4, it used to be a lot different. I don't remember how it was different before. I remember like Vibra was to be absorbed within a being already. Actually, another type of like a Morphil, but a polar bear instead, and he was to have the powers of Morphil and no, the powers of Vibra. And Mechador would have killed him to get it. But yeah, but in the end, I restructured the entirety of book 4 because it was really not working well. And then I ended up going with this alternative, which has this scene as well, and I'm glad I did. But yeah, this is Pod's lowest point ever. No transport, no trident. He has the Vibra powers to his disposal. And considering that all he wants is peace, he will be fighting them a lot off at a point where he's just almost happy to sit if no one ever comes for him. Which, I think anyone would do that. Or, yeah, it's just really interesting because it's wanted to keep yourself moving. But I'm always considering that, you might not be saved in the end, which is, not going to be the case, as you'll find out later. But yeah, this is definitely Pod at his prime. Vibras within the system, ice and water, ball around, and fire. And suddenly, yeah, no fire from Pod, I don't think, ever. But anyway, yeah, let's move on. Oh, actually, no, one more thing. This is inspired by, when you use certain spears to hunt whales. I was trying to recreate that, more of a hook on the other side, just a more symbolising weapon of choice. Instead of the whales being on the end of that, it's a whale, use it against its foes. Yeah, let's get going. So yeah, pod is saved, and I really like the detail with either markings or tears. Sadly, this does get repaired later on. I should have retained it, or actually no, Zambi could have always fixed it because he's accessing to any material, and clothing is material after all. But even then, you still see more of the land. It's more a hint what the Titan ship looks like. Which you'll see more of later. Sorry, I'm about to sneeze. I'll get the record enough. Oh, I just sneezed. Yep, I'm back. But yeah, I think what's also interesting is that all of these skeletons definitely adds to the lore potential. Wondering if these creatures we've seen before or if they'll be new ones. Like this one could be, when MEQ became a crocodile creature with the device on #2, that could be that. So yeah, it's a really interesting speculation, even for me. And yeah, Nicole is, once again, managing to cope without the need of Mike. And you see the Titrons absolutely owning the creatures, throwing them, battering them, or biting them, still a defence. And so the main trio have reunited, which is a nice moment in itself. And then there's Dion as well, who would also help. But yeah, this is a planet filled with these creatures. Of course, all of this would look like the way it is. And yeah, it's like a gorge, cliffy area of the planet, if not the entire planet looks like that. Oh, and also, yeah, these Rannox, these come from I remember being really interested by the Godzilla sequel with King Ghidorah and everything, and I was into creating massive creatures, and and I created my own creature who was like a dragon, but just without wings, just more of a snake body, and uh, so it's just that design, but shrunk, but also less detail. So it had more horns and veins everywhere. It looks really cool. In fact, you can see that on my Instagram. Even if for those who don't know, between animation and illustration, illustration has the time for those extra details. But when it comes to animation or another type schedule piece of work like this, that's where you do go on the simpler side. But as I said in another video, sticking to simpler side is often better because it just saves overcomplicating. If Mario is just in his plumber outfit, and that's so iconic and he's presented nicely, so why not with these dudes? Even if my characters aren't the best drawn ever, but yeah, and also it shows the acknowledgement about the Legion, wondering about where the Trident has gone. But yeah, let's go. All right, fourth day of recording. All right, so yeah, one error that is already around is that Pod is meant to be blind there, and now it looks like he's stuck in a fridge or something, who knows. But regardless, he's getting healed, which is kept 9 by a touch around here. And yeah, this is almost like the first aid room. So yeah, then to wonder about what he's like, and also this is probably afterwards. Mike telling Nicole about the illness he has, to which adds to how Nicole does need to be more on just more independent, really. And then laser, there you go. It happens every time I go off. Anyway, and then them two being here, that is where Dion has his flight back, and now he's going to try and help some people. And I'm not sure if this is said or not. I'm sorry if I'm saying that again. Yeah, so they're going to look for Mechajaw or Zone 4, yeah. I think it's more so about Mechajaw Road, especially with the Morphils. I think initially they would be either into Zone 4 or Mechajaw, but Mechajaw's causing most of the modern trouble at the minute, so yeah, let's move on. Alright, so as I was inspired by Floating Islands, I did want to do a planet consistent with that. But here, this planet's been attacked, presumably by one of those in Zynbal Scoos, sorry. And the water could have been better, and so could the land. I think that's said for all sorts. And you have these walking whale creatures. And they're not pleased with how Dion has been there all this time. Oh, this could have been an attack. That's happened ages ago, but Dion has come too late. Also, there's a bit of a flame here. Yeah, that's unfortunate. So yeah, and also in my guide it says that these whales could swim up the waterfalls, which kind of a nice touch. And this stone does add to how there's this minor idea that even if Dion does load of saving now, which he probably would try and do in here, it is a lot to make up for, especially how much he's missed. And there's this idea of him needing to go because he's outdated, he's been there for ages. He already believes that Nitro shouldn't be weaponized. Stars should be stars. And and there's the Legion that can carry through that legacy. But he is still going to continue regardless. But I think he is probably aware of that idea. So yeah, let's go into the next page. So yeah, one of my favourite parts of the book. So because of the memories incomplete healing, yep, I said it there, and the body's almost reverted back to his former self. Almost either very animalistically as an orca, or maybe a morphil who's really not knowing what's happening. So yeah, either way, that could be the case. And yeah, has his vibra powers here, and he's going against Zemi here, to which kind of sets up later. And then you already can see that the Titrons would already be on this case, because this is a lot of damage around the ship so far. So yeah, I kind of like the shot as well. And so yeah, and I also do like the correction wall. This emphasises how hard Zemi's suit is and how strong Pod is. So yeah, I was just starting to see, and this less too. So, I guess it's kind of good. It keeps the videos quicker. I think each one's a bit shorter each time. Anyway, yeah, let's get going. So yeah, when it comes to design for Mechador's different point of views, this is where they've almost reached a climax. They're definitely not going to be working together. Like, if Mechador does succeed, design form the others would try and go after him, and that probably means an easy first element to get as well, which would finally get Xanthor out of the building. Even there's a deleted scene where I think it still has some truth when just reading the book as it is. But as Xanthor is hurt here, and he's mainly stayed in here so he doesn't get hurt. And hopefully this is said in the following book, because if he gains bad enough injuries, that means the intaking of the elements becomes extra hard, and it adds more damage to him. But sadly he's already had this significant injury, and he can't get that healed until he's fully connected with the elements, or gathering all of them. Oh, I just caught myself, sorry. So yeah, and this is a water blade as well. You can tell Mechador's pumped up with Vibra, and this is either like a water thing that's keeping Xanthor back, or it could be some water, or ice even, that's making Xanthor slip here, as well as making Xanthor catch on fire. And I think that's the first and probably only time Vibra's been used for fire. Yeah, Vibra, by the way, sorry, I feel like I'm not saying that well. And there's a small water blade as well, which I think is kind of neat. And yeah, another good action shot as well. I kind of like it, because even if Mechador's relied on his power, Xanthor still has his fighting skills. So yeah, they're definitely not on the same side now. Their point of views are too different, which is quite interesting, because even if if compared Ozona to Xanthor, even though the way of approaching is different, and Xanthor is slightly hindered away from his goal, well, more like Xanthor not be able to progress as much because of Ozona having one of the abilities, or elements rather. But at least Ozona and Xanthor could work together like these two clearly cannot, and it must have been like that for quite some time, considering the elemental wave was 100 years. Alright, yeah, and this takes place in the fortress as well, and I'm not sure it's said or not, but I think there was this idea of Mechador bringing Morphils with him, and I think he may have done, and they probably would have all got attacked anyway. And this is only some of the Morphils, because they all went off the planet, didn't they? And they're somehow back. Yeah, why did I make them come back? I could have made that an entirely new setting, like a better place to set off all them for the next goal. Yeah, I just got myself into a corner. Oh no, I thought this was the least flawed. Anyway, never mind. Let's get going. Another neat shot which I like. Yeah, I think there's meant to be a line there to indicate where his hips are, but he's in a jump suit anyway. And so yeah, so the healing is getting completed, and this would be the Titrons trying to keep in still, or could even be the healing that keeps in still, because sometimes people can be in pain at a point where they're unable to settle, and so yeah, that could be the case. And yeah, this is like his veins going to properly finish off the healing. And so yeah, you have Nicole and Mike trying to help as well. It's definitely adding to the idea that these, like, obviously not all humans seem to be at this level, which can be a bit questionable, but them two are definitely risk takers. And it is nice for them to do something together. It could say, oh, what about this theme of Nicole doing things on her own? Actually, I think about it, I think that should have been the case, but I think maybe it should have been Nicole being on her own, but then Mike's like, hey, I'll help you here, because you definitely need my help. But as you know, that won't always be the case. And I guess this scene could communicate this better, but even then, that should have been all right and done. And you can also see that the ship is also getting more battered as well. Yeah, right. Yeah, sorry, there's just looking at the pages and the writing and where the story's at. Yeah, that's why I tend to stall at the end. Right, let's get going. Alright, so to further evidence the like the damage to the ship, that's where Kyle is trying to fix it, mainly using his cubes as well as just his overall knowledge. So yeah, pretty interesting aspect, and not to mention, so yeah, this is Kyle learning more about how his overconfidence and power. Like, not only does the overconfidence need to narrow down, but it's just seeing what else he can do with his power as well. Like, he is like powerful and stuff, but doesn't mean he has to show off with it. And definitely here he can't really show off. He needs to be serious about how he'll treat the ship. And yeah, definitely like the damage here. And let's clarify later, this is more so saving the ship from blowing up, as well as trying to slow it down, because this ship starts heading towards Earth, and I'm not sure if yeah, I don't think the Legion are going there. If anything, the ship could have jolted ahead and ended up like going in the direction at fast speed, like a malfunction. But yeah, even then that should have been done by writing, or no, the Legion could be trying to probably try and get Earth's help as Mechador's on the run again. But yeah, I don't think they'll be doing that, because they'll be locked up and stuff, considering Metron is more in charge. So yeah, I think that outcome should have been more backed up using writing. And oh yeah, something else, I'm not sure if I said this, I'll say this just in case, considering it's a couple of days since I last recorded. When Retron was attacking the Morpho planet using explosives, there was going to be, I can't believe I didn't make this scene in the first place, where Mike contacts Retron about the attack, saying, oh, you could have really hurt us, and the Retron's like, well, maybe that's the intention, it's not like I should be defending you considering you're more with the Legion, that kind of scene. And I think that should have been in, I think it would have added a lot, because without it, it looks like the attack just happened, against the Morphals, and that's it. Yeah, a bit fortunate. But yeah, I do like the look of the engine as well, looks very mechanical and stuff. So yeah, other than that, let's move on. Alright, so yeah, Carl eventually sorts out the engine, and Dion, considering all of that rejection from the planet saving, he's come around to help save this massive ship from crashing into Earth. And I think the size could have been a bit more different, like Dion to be smaller perhaps, but you can still see him, like what his strength is like. We definitely can tell by now that he is very tough and stuff. And so yeah, this is, I don't know whereabouts this is, but it could be like a view from the base, considering Metron is watching all of this happen. And not to mention, flooding is starting to occur as well, which does hint later what's happening, which I'll get to. Other than that, I do kind of like this shot. And not to mention, I'm not sure, for those you might not know about this, but there are certain ways you can shoot a scene. Like in this case, it's the rule of three, where all the the 9 squares, this is definitely in the center, and then it could be like an iris thing, where it's like going off from Retron to the ship here. That I've somewhat considered. I'm not the biggest expert on shot, so I tend to efficiently tell a story with what a scene requires. But there are a lot of people who could be like, oh, I got this idea, and I'm going to convey it using this shot using proper techniques. And with me, I'm just like, yeah, you could say that's like rushed and stuff. Like, yeah, I think most of these scenes could have been shot better. But I think for what they're trying to achieve, I think it's been mostly successful. Alright, yeah, next scene, let's go. Alright, so all of this flooding is being done by Vibra. This is the best representation of the element, and this is meant to be Mechador's hand on top of it. Not the best looking hand, but you can probably even fair it. And it's eye between his head as well, which creates like a really creepy shot, which yeah, I quite like. So yeah, he's tends to flood all the planets, which is said later on. And yeah, and it's still going for the races, which he is threatened by from how smart they are. And he's definitely bringing the Morphers to it. They're still middling, probably. Whether Mechador's still worth following, or if Body's like the better Morpho to follow. And this is meant to be a stunt, by the way, like a short, fat pole, but yeah, not communicated the best. And it should have been set up as well, actually. So yeah, and as you can see from the colour of the ground, yeah, they're back on the Morpho planet for some reason. So yeah, I just yeah, apologies for that. It's also worth mentioning about the watermarking. So yeah, on my Wix site, it wasn't a former version of what the paragraphs were until the rewriting happened. But yeah, just I'm very protective of the characters and the balls I've come up with. So yeah, so if like anyone tries to replicate them or try to make the images their own by screenshotting them, then yeah, they have to go through this first, or would have to go through me first. So yeah, please don't, like, inspiration is one thing, but actively replicating something and then making it your own, yeah, that's definitely not wise. So yeah, that's like the watermark is there, and just made it, chunky enough as possible, and you can still see the imagery despite it as well. So yeah, anyway, let's get going. Yeah, so this is another shot I like. The only problems I can think of is the Kyle, no, Zemi and Mike's heads. They're too big compared to the bodies. So yeah, that's the only flaw I can think of. Other than that, yeah, I do like these ships. It just indicates the trouble coming along. They're definitely going for Earth, and I'm not sure it's said or not, but yeah, they would be going for Earth because of the Legion. They're some of the biggest threats around. Mechadra would have been. I think every Ironfall game would have been updated about the Legion becoming the biggest problem to them. And so even if Mechadra's not the same side, he'll be like, oh, yeah, let's just sort out the Legions, get them out of the way. And so yeah, and they're on top of the ship as well. And I've had this. Sorry. Yeah, I've had this idea of like the ship flooded from the inside and slowly crashing down and trying to get everyone out. So yeah, definitely a cool idea on paper, but I think it would have overstuffed the story. It could probably still happen in between. But yeah, even then. And yeah, I'm not sure you can see the mufflers inside the ships as well. Yeah, let's move on. Yeah, so another battle shot which I really like. So you can see, oh, that's Pod. He's running away. Yeah, of course. Yeah, the Legion are mainly trying to go after him because if they are going to find, the Zynthor, then Mechador is a good source to find out where where Zynthor is. So Zynthor can be sorted, which hey, I think is definitely mentioned. And yeah, so yeah, that's the Legion's main objective. And when I mentioned, no, I haven't mentioned this yet. Shall I say it for book 5? Actually, no. I will say now that the Legion seem to be these kind of heroes where they do goals which benefit themselves, and they do seem to get any trouble done. But at the same time, they're trying to get hold of Pod instead of helping this battle, or even trying to save the residents. So yeah, it's an interesting idea which the following book will cover. You can also see Vondor and Carpo, they're definitely in this battle as well. So yeah, the Morphils are mainly causing all of this havoc alongside the flooding. And hopefully this is said as well that the Rector, the President, etc., they try and sort out the residents, trying to minimise the damage, and even Retron has a few men, and even his defences, but as you later find out, they do falter. But yeah, so interesting bits and bobs. So his only spots Pod there, yeah, boosting with Vibra. But you have yeah, an interesting colour. I don't know why I've made that green, because Mike doesn't have any superpowers. It could be like a comic book thing where, even though those like whack boom thing on the comics, like that's not actually there. It's just there to emphasise the hit, and I think that's what is happening there. Although, why is this one a different colour to the others? Huh, okay. Bit off, oh well. And yeah, so you have one more fill grounded to the roof, cracking it. It would go to show that, their brawl is getting heftier enough to not care as much with the damage. It could be all sporadic and stuff, so yeah, I think, yeah, being tidy is the least of their worries. One more fill probably about to strike, one tangled of vegetation, and you have a Titran throwing a rock at Morphil, to which they're punching back, which you can see by the blue on the cracks on the rock. So yeah, another shot I really like. Even the flooding looks quite convincing that this is definitely like beyond the first floor at this point. Yeah, well, yeah, the roofing could have looked better, even the roof base windows as well. Anyway, let's move on. So while the flooding colour looked better, I was just trying to show that the higher ground is less flooded, but yeah, unless it's just like the source of the water coming in to flood it, which, yeah, I think that could have looked better considering the spare amount of green ground there. And I say I didn't notice that Titan on the top there, that's kind of funny. But yeah, you can see Titans and Morphils everywhere. They seem to be separate instead of fighting, to which, yeah, that could have been done better. And is that Microdor there? Yeah. Oh, cool. Yeah, they're parallel to Retron, which, yeah, is kind of neat. Well, so, I think, Retron's Deadeye's been inconsistent. And, yeah, it looks like the servicemen also have rifles instead of dual-wheel pistols, to which they often have. Yeah, it's quite interesting that. But yeah, interesting detail. So Retron is getting rid of the lot, the Morphils, the Titans, and even the Legion. But yeah, to quickly finish off, you can see more of the flooding. and yeah, everyone's been fired out. You have like he's trying to stop Retron from hitting all the targets. Even Retron seems to be quite desperate because all the turrets and I think all the drones might be down as well. And as I said somewhere, it's many Mechadors doing with the use of Vibra. So yeah, Mechador seems to be very keen on the base, considering that's where the fire is coming from. That's where most of the fighting is coming from. Yeah, considering everything else has been sorted by either the flooding or the destruction. But yeah, I kind of like the background and foreground kind of shot as well, almost like an earlier shot as well. Easy to interesting to compare. That's what I meant to say. Yeah, I don't know what the Flash one's doing with the vine there. I guess that's your interpretation. Anyway, next page. Alright, so here's another shot. Coming closer. Yeah, probably will be an audio difference due to my position, but yeah, apologies for that. I've noticed on my YouTube videos the overall presentation PowerPoint audio is a bit minimal, so yeah, apologies for some. I've just knocked my hand. Anyway, but yeah, I think look forward to some of the best shots, and there's even this one as well, where yeah, so this is Pod, and yeah, it looks like they've been at it so far, and yeah, there's some fair Mechador, and yeah, Pod's more experienced with Vibra, probably has a better feel for it compared to Mechador, who's is going a bit out of whack with it. So yeah, pretty interesting stuff, and the damage around them could either be caused by them or the flooding in general. Yeah, that'd be interesting. And then even this crack on the floor is almost a way to show Mechador's vulnerability. He's pushed to a corner, and you get to see more on how powerful Pod is. But with this new part of him, and and there's a building tilting as well. Yeah, that's scary. Yeah, that's what I have to say. Let's move on. So this is what Dan is doing in the meantime. So while Earth has all of its help, Dan probably is at his most busiest he's ever been, literally zooming from place to place. And just finding ways to stop the flooding from harming others, and such as this case where it looks like he's trying to put rubble in front of the water. You can see despite the trickling, it definitely is enough to get the job done. And you can see these creatures as well, who are pretty interesting design. Their eyes are in the low part of their mouth, and in the lower guide, even they're some of the more residential aliens compared to other races in the book, which are also capable of fighting and have over the top supernatural abilities. And yeah, maybe the water could be causing the cracking, unless it's just a damaged piece of rubble already. Yeah, inside somewhere. Yeah, and also just notice the race has a similar colour scheme to Dion. And I guess it represents how there are some who think the Legion are still, they still have potential despite what happened with Torrid. And, who else is going to help. So, yeah, there is that idea. And, they could be an example. They seem to be, considering what, to think next. And also, yeah, we see more of Dion's strength as well. This is a flood. He's mentioned to hold back. And yeah, this is water trying to break as well with the lines. Yeah, let's move on. So yeah, this is where I get to another shot. Probably another favourite shot of mine. But yeah, I say that loads of times, but honestly, I don't know which shot I favour the most, not just in this one, but in other books. So from the top, we have, so firstly, his fin should be better placed, but I still like his damage weapon. Pod was able to do that. And looks like he's done other damage as well. And because Mechador is a cyborg, he is almost faltering. And despite Design for Mechador not really getting on, I guess Mechador's trying to say, oh, I've killed Design 4, you're probably thought like the last being, but you Legion are done, that kind of situation. So while he's trying to tell that fib, there is a small idea that, if the Legion end up winning against me in the end, Design 4 still probably more towards my goal way more so than the Legion would, because Design 4 diminishes the violence, which Mechador likes to, is aiming to do as well. So yeah, I think that could probably do with more visuals of writing, but I think after saying that, you can probably see, why Mechador would state that lie. And as you'll see later on, a good few people are like, is that really the case? But others are definitely not hindered by that. And then you also have a cool battle between Pod and Zamu. They have another round, not just after earlier books. In this book, but in other books it would have clashed as well. More evolved Zamu going against a different side of Pod, so it's interesting to see how they battle out. And I think Zamu does win this one. Oh yeah, of course he does, because the book says yeah, one of the writing it says the Inazami with controlling his power and ego a bit more is able to go out on top compared to Pod who's gone completely sideways. Sideways, is that the right thing to say? Just a bit out of whack, you could say. And yeah, this is a. I think that could be better presented as a punch. And also you have the capabilities. It does make his suit almost shape-shifting like, so he's able to shoot two wrist blasters at once and this jump, and then it's meant to be a punch, unless it's a different way to project electricity. And even then, I think the punching lines could have been done or something. So yeah, those that's I think with Pod's arc, about being overpowered, it's so yeah, if Pod is eager for a peaceful life, it's so his goal is to sort out. Even then, that's always been his goal. But as mentioned, as we've seen, Pod was considering to get rid of all the Morphils, but after that's definitely not the no need for that to be the case. It's only Mechadot that needs going. So I guess it's almost I already have listed and planned all the arcs in my books with the three main characters. So yeah, Pod's a bit more of a complicated one because I think it's learning not to overstep. Especially when trying to gain peace across. It's something like that. I do apologise, but you probably can get a rough idea on I think it's a tad messy, but they're definitely start and ending for what Pod's character is in this book. And I think book 4 does probably show that Pod's probably the best character in these books. I could be wrong. You could say it's the side characters because they have less screen time, therefore less problems. But I think Pod's still the most interesting, especially with the history and the subtext. Just quite a lot of interesting aspects. And yeah, as you see later, Zemi does win this fight against him. And then you have this one as well. So you have Retron managing to defend the kick from Mike, and Mike losing his gun as well. That definitely hints. Spoiler: Mike does lose his fight. Retron still can fight despite being on the crutch. And yeah, the fighting wise, I think that would be similar in that regard. And it looks like the gun was used to probably use if necessary, considering Mike, Retron's meant to be his mate, but I think like Design for Mechanjaw and even almost like the Legion as well, like their own intentions and goals is like hindering their relationship almost, which I think that's why the shot is quite powerful in the same way. And I think that's what I have to say. Yeah, so you have the aftermath of the fight. So because of Retron, Mike dies in the fight, which does devastate the lot. They lost Arvin and now they lost him. Yeah, definitely makes a lot upset. Yeah, and Mechador's down as well. The malfunctioning and the beating from Pod is definitely got a lot out of him. And what's also quite interesting as well, while book 3 ends on the sad note too, this is a lot more dour because as you see in the following page, the Legion are split apart. So if go by structure, so as the midpoint often represents success or a turning point, you probably would see that as the Legion, become the celebrities at the end of book 2. But the book 3 adds to the seriousness, and book 4 creates the low point. And while climaxes tend to be a famous part for many people, and I like climaxes too, I like final fights, but I think low points can be just as fun to watch if they're executed well, that's for sure. And the servicemen boats as well, rescuing people, a whole lot is flooded. It still looks like it's calmed down, I guess. But the book also says, in fact, I think a general rule in my universe is that any supernatural ability or spell, it will definitely go as, like, if the caster of that spell is dead. That's how that works. So yeah, if Mechador's down, that means all of this carnage stops. A nice, simple rule. I don't think there's any spells which go beyond death, I don't think. Actually, no, that's definitely, no dead man spells, you can say. And it looks like from this, I think very few survivors. It is, I've somewhat planned, but not shown that the death rate gets almost worse and worse as each time goes on, and this is definitely the worst. And while the visuals are a tad lacking in some places, like Earth is meant to be almost post-apocalyptic because of how much destruction is caused and how very few people are there, but that does get fixed as well. And also, this hole in the roof, you would see that everyone's climbed up there. And and this actually looks a bit more like water. I do like the bits of water underneath the boats as well. It definitely would have been done with a light brush techniques. I think that's all I have to say. Let's go on to the final page. Alright, last book. So, interestingly enough, Nicole has her only change of clothes. It's meant to be funeral wear because Mike would have had. Um, Actually, no, with what's happening, I guess it just shows her demotion. That probably would have. Yeah, I think this probably would be taking place afterwards. Because I think all of the events would have been recounted in the last few hours, and the president and everyone else will probably that then go to the conclusion that the Legion they're no longer functional because they've let this happen as well. And um, yeah, sorry, just get something caught. Sorry about that. So yeah, I think it just shows the motion as well as Mike's funeral, which would happen, and I think once again a whole heap of other funerals will be happening as well. As I don't like these dashes. Yeah, they're all meant to be dots, but a few dashes there well. So yeah, Divide the Beach again might be the same one as previously. Could be with if that's mud in the background, and also that's meant to be Zami and the awesome tone. Yeah, definitely not in the best way of showing it, but it does represent how if Nicole is keen on the Legion, making a distinctive part of history, then it's almost seeing that totally split apart. But I think this part right here shows a bit of optimism. The races are still together. There's some hope for the Legion. Even so the reason them two made up, I hope this is written as well. Although it was said earlier that Megador did say, "Oh, Morphos are dying," so I think this battle would be ending long after me. And TBS, I don't really know what. Yeah, I thought I had a reason, but I think I've lost it. But I think what could happen, you could say, is the battle has been done with all the destruction. The Morphos have no leader to follow. Good Fortune would say, hey, maybe follow Pod instead, to which the Morphos may or may not like. And a bit like the Ozone Lagoons, there's some that stay loyal and continue with the evil pathway. The others, you know, you go for their own choice of a peaceful pathway instead. Not I don't know about the evil lot, but the peaceful lot, you could say. You'll see that in the following book. And then the following book will definitely round up the lot well. Outside of a couple of new bits and bobs, it is nice to make your finale. Just rounded up everything that's been set up alongside a couple of new bits and bobs. That's definitely allowed, as long as it's not completely alien to what the predecessors are. But yeah, still nice to see these two making up after the elemental wave. That would have been a conflict that's been going on too far, and they both made this, go in their separate ways. They probably believe the Zyphor is dead as well. That's unknown. And the Titans just focus on the bigger races from extinction instead of going and search for Zyphor. And I think these as you'll see in book 5, I guess a small spoiler, they do make more of a peaceful life for themselves. To which Pod, I guess, is getting there, but he's definitely not convinced that Zyphor's dead, so he's going to go and find him on his own. You could say, why not a Pasnos? Well, Pasnos isn't so up for fighting, and despite some neat, one or two neat conversations in book 3, Pasnos has definitely lost that kind of confidence, and Pod has no legion to getting away from either. Even, I think the three of them have made peace in some way, despite him going. Them two are going anyway because they've been banned from Earth, as shown here. So Zami is, if you remember, in the low point of book 1, where Zami was going to try and get his attention elsewhere. So that's what's happening. Earth is definitely, Zami would just not get anything from Earth, especially if the Legion are no longer a thing either. And as you'll see later on, Nicole does get demoted as well, which makes things worse. And also, she does wear blue lipstick, by the way, kind of a nice choice. And they have made peace, but Bod definitely hasn't had his. So Zami will go and try to find a crowd. Nicole will probably still try and make impact or effect elsewhere, despite being demoted. These two do their own thing, as just shown. They had loads of plant destruction, far worse than what Torrid did. And he's heading off, and I think we can see that there's probably a sense of respect, but at the same time, I don't think this friendship is fully fixed, despite their forced separation and some making up. And I think Pod will be going to a ship. Zami can create ships, I'm sure Pod is creating another one. And these two have the transport back as well, so that's fine. I think one thing is that suddenly this, I guess another minor spoiler, this isn't Black Windfall, sorry. So as shown here, it's almost like Retron's escaped the blame for Mike's death, and I think, I'm not sure if this is written or not in the following book, that gets confronted, and I think Retron either admits after defeat or during the fight to knock down a coal a bit to say, oh, I did get rid of Mike and I've got away with it. That's how powerful I am. So yeah, I think that should have been in the writing or visual somewhere. But for now, he's definitely got away with it. So even though, as this area says, Retron, he's definitely not the same position compared to earlier, because it would have been his fault that his defences have failed. And not to mention, his security does go back to square one, because it's just back to the servicemen and stuff, or whatever is left of it. No leading either. So yeah, right. Kept this going for long enough. Thank you for watching. There's the last book. Apologies for more fixes out of the blue, or headcanon, or filler. Yeah, I'll just do that as well. Yeah, I know these aren't the most engaging videos. They would have been nice if it wasn't for my daily stuff or software is going. So yeah, have a good day.